upcoming Saturday, the very first ever Survivor Series from a stadium. It's the last of the major PLEs that hasn't been in a stadium. The Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, even Elimination Chamber, which isn't one of the majors, but they've all been in stadium settings. They've all had more than 30,000 on hand. The Survivor Series, which is the second oldest pay-per-view in WWE, has never been in a stadium. And that will change this Saturday when they will be at Petco Park in San Diego, home of the San Diego Padres, a nice stadium right in downtown San Diego, and a stadium which is kind of opened up. So I will say, and the reason I say opened up is if you've been following on social media, if WWE plans to do any kind of trickery or any tests for any surprise returns or surprise winners or losers or try to test any of that stuff out, they're not going to get too far because there's a lot of apartments and hotels around, and people are able to post all of that stuff on social media. So if you want to put up like the graphic that says new women's champion, just see what it looks like. Don't if you're WWE, because people will be able to see that, right? And inside of an indoor stadium, you might be able to condense that better. And I know WWE knows there's the leaks out there, even when they're in indoor stadiums. There's people on the crews that take pictures. We've seen it before, so they've never really done anything too wild, right? I know people do that around the Royal Rumble time because they practice the intros and they're trying to be like, see if there's any surprises in that. But yeah, if there's any like new women's champion, Nikki Bella or something like that, don't put it on the scoreboard. Don't test it out. Don't shoot off the fireworks.
Hey, speaking of Nikki Bella, though, Nikki Bella and Dominic Mysterio, it's a homecoming of sorts too because of their connections to San Diego. So it is interesting to see two of our current superstars. They're on this card and they're born in San Diego. I think that's going to be cool too.
It's the 39th Survivor Series, and probably what's most important than other than just the War Games and being a big time event, it is the final PLE pay-per-view for Mr. One, John Cena. Not the final Survivor Series, the final pay-per-view ever, as his last match obviously is going to be at Saturday's main event. This will be his 12th Survivor Series. He's had quite an interesting history. Started in 2003 when he was a part of Team Angle against Team Lesnar at a Survivor Series match. That had the Big Show, Nathan Jones, if you remember him. But that was John Cena before he even had his first WrestleMania match, which took place the following year at WrestleMania 20. He was in a match that involved a winning team, Team Angle. They won in 13 minutes against Team Lesnar. That was back in the Angle-Lesnar rivalry days on the SmackDown side of things. He then has had a bunch of good matches, including a match against Kurt Angle one-on-one. Personally, I think, one of my favorite matches of him at the Survivor Series, and it's not so much a favorite match like the match was that great. I think the build, everything was great around it, and it has a little bit to do with a man who kind of ruined his heel run, and that's The Rock. It was them teaming up at Madison Square Garden against the Awesome Truth of R-Truth and The Miz. In a tag team match to main event Survivor Series, essentially continuing the build to their matchup at WrestleMania the following year. And it was the first time they've ever teamed up. So it was essentially a once in a lifetime, never again. It was one time only, never again. I think that was like the build that The Rock and Cena were going to team up and main event this. So it gave,
it was like once in a lifetime, I think it was.
Yeah. Well, the once in a lifetime was the WrestleMania. But it was like
I thought it was Survivor Series.
That it was also once in a lifetime that they teamed up, but it was here we go. Never before, never again. That was the mantra for their tag team match against the Awesome Truth. Never before, never again. That they were going to team up. Once in a lifetime was The Rock and Cena at WrestleMania 28, which that's what it led to. And as we know, that was obviously a mantra that meant nothing at all because they definitely they never teamed up again. But they definitely wrestled again the following year at WrestleMania. So that once in a lifetime was not true. The never before, never again was. But I just thought Madison Square Garden, all the hype, because I just think the whole hype to that Cena versus Rock, the whole year build of that, WWE needs to do more of that. And then obviously having your known WrestleMania opponents at Survivor Series. It's crazy to think because we're right now in 2025 at Survivor Series. We have no idea what WrestleMania is going to entail. To be at this point and have known WrestleMania opponents, and now we're at a point where we're building it where they're teaming up because we already know. So we're actually starting not just knowing who they're going to face, but starting the actual day-to-day, month-to-month, week-to-week kind of build to it. It was just exciting for that at the time. I would like to see WWE do that again with somebody. They could have obviously done it many times with Rock and Roman. That's Rock and Roman not happening at WrestleMania is to me like Hogan and Flair, never happening at WrestleMania. It's how could you have fumbled on this? And
didn't John Cena face Shawn and Shawn Michaels and Triple H too?
So yeah, there's some other. I mean, so we got John Cena and Alberto Del Rio in a match in 2013. He faced Chris Jericho. Obviously, the match I just talked about. But yes, there was a triple threat match 2009. John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. A triple threat match in which was won by John Cena in 21 minutes. That was the newer DX Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Another triple threat match, almost as good if you ask me, because it had CM Punk, but more importantly, had the biggest star of that triple threat match. It wasn't John Cena. It wasn't CM Punk. It was Ryback in 2012. Yes.
Assassin.
Yes. At 43 minutes, he led Team Cena against Team Authority in 2014. And obviously, what I think is most important about that has nothing to do with John Cena, but it has to do with Team Authority and who they debuted at the end of that Survivor Series, which was a one man they call Sting. So John Cena, a huge history at Survivor Series, as essentially he's got a huge history with the company. I will say Survivor Series is not WrestleMania. So in his future years, where he has made sure to always be on the card at WrestleMania and things like that and make more of those appearances. If he's not full time, he's been less on the Survivor Series card. He's not been on a Survivor Series card yet that's included the War Games. This will be the 4th year of that. He hasn't been on one of those cards. So even though he's been here and there, doing things with WWE,
it hasn't been a top priority.
At Survivor Series time, he normally makes his return, again, to get involved in the WrestleMania stuff, whether it's the WrestleMania match against Austin Theory a couple years ago, things like that. He comes back and gets involved in. But Survivor Series is a big pay-per-view, but I feel like it's not for the one-offs, right? It's for the main roster.
John usually likes to come back that first quarter of the year. That's kind of
Survivor Series is, like I said, it's that pay-per-view that is for the full-time roster. Yes, we saw the return of Sting and things, or the debut of Sting, but for the most part, it's not one of those that like people come back for. You know what I mean? It's not like
Survivor the celebrities. Series is the All-Star game.
It involves the people who are currently on the roster. I say it's not what people come back for, but this year, obviously, we got Roman Reigns and we got Brock Lesnar. I do feel like Brock Lesnar is back, though, in the sense of he's not just coming back to have a Survivor Series match and then come back next year, Survivor Series. This isn't like a one-off. Like WrestleMania, people come in, Jericho, John Cena, The Undertaker. They've come in, they've had Mania matches, they go away again, and they show back up again the following year at Mania, right?
What are your thoughts on the 4 total matches?
I mean, that's the WWE's mantra, right? To have 4 matches on the PLE, right? Nothing less, nothing more. It's probably going to be
2 War Games, 2 singles.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, we know it's going to start with War Games. We know it's going to end with War Games just based on what we already know in life. So I guess my question is, which War Games match starts and which War Games match is essentially the main event of this pay-per-view? Or are neither? Are we going off with John Cena and Dominic Mysterio?
Oh, that's a heck of a question.
What is main eventing this card?
So I would go. So here's my order. Here's how I would think they'll do it. I think they're going to go with the women's. They're going to kick off the show with the women's War Games, and
as they always do.
Yeah, and then I think, you know what? I mean, honestly, it's tough to say the John Cena part, but I would actually probably go John Cena Mysterio as the second match of the night. And the reason why I say that is I think Dominic Mysterio, I think he's going to win the match. Okay. And then the third match will be Stephanie Vaquera versus Nikki Bella, and then they'll end with the men's. That's what I would think. I mean,
that just seems like the typical. That seems like the play it safe. I mean, every one of these War Games has ended with the men's War Games match. A lot of people are fighting, as they always do, for the women to finish off this year. I mean, we have the return of AJ Lee. We have Becky Lynch on one team. We have Rhea Ripley on another team. I will say Io Sky, she's on this War Games card, and let's say she's had more War Games matches than like anyone else. There hasn't been one of these women's War Games matches she hasn't been involved. This is supposed to be like her 8th War Games match, if I'm not mistaken, including her time in NXT, which is just crazy to me. Yes, this will be her 8th. Io Sky will be in her 8th War Games, counting NXT and WWE. We're also going to get, this will be for Rhea Ripley. This will be her 5th War Games. Asuka, this will be her 3rd. Alexa Bliss, this will be her 2nd. Becky Lynch, this will be her 3rd.
I'll give you an interesting take on that. Like I told you how I feel like they'll lay it out based on what I think is going to happen. But if John Cena retains the title, so if he beats Dominic, I could see that being the final match of the night.
if John Cena retains.
Yeah.
You don't think Dominic Mysterio in his hometown could main event and go off the air himself?
I mean, that's certainly a possibility, but I think they're going to bookend. I think they're going to bookend the War Games. I do think they're going to start it red hot with the female with the women's side of things, because that's going to be a pretty good match.
I think you can start it red hot with the men's, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, you could, but I think they'll, traditionally speaking, I think they're going to go with the men's to the men's War Games to finish off the night. But on the point of the women's match, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm a huge fan of Lash Legend. I think she does things that women her size don't normally do. She's got all the tools in the box. I think she cuts a decent promo as well. Like, I think, watch out for Lash Legend to put on a show that, people that may not know her from her time in the NXT as the bougie bully, they're going to get to know her. I think by this, when next time we record, people are going to be talking about Lash Legend. She's going to do some fun stuff, I think.
Obviously, you got a lot of mismatch in both of these teams. But speaking of the women's, do you see anything transpiring in the women's? Obviously, Charlotte Flair, she was one of those that didn't want to be involved. They had to kind of encourage her to come back, right? You got AJ Lee leading this team or on this team, you know what I mean? But she's not necessarily a part of this group, right? She's just really here for Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch, again, not really part of the Kabuki Warriors or Nia Jackson, Lash Legend. She's just here for AJ Lee. So do you see anything where you see, let's say, like we've seen in the past where Kevin Owens essentially has walked out on his team, things like that in Survivor Series?
You just said it. I could see Charlotte doing something like that. I think Charlotte could do that because maybe there's a point in the match where maybe Rhea inadvertently, clotheslines or hits her with a big boot or something, some inadvertent contact, and Charlotte takes that the wrong way, and then she's like, you know what, the heck with this, I'm out of here, kind of a thing. I'm done with this. Like I could, that's a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised by that. It's just one of those situations. Given the history of this War Games match, you're gonna see some shenanigans. I think. Whether it's the men's, honestly, the men's could be interesting too, because think of the dynamic.
That's an all-star. I mean, you talk about this being an all-star game. I don't always typically see it that way, but I do definitely see it that way in this time, because let's be real. Like, when it comes to the team that's the Vision, that's not the Vision. That's the Vision with some people. I wouldn't say that like Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar are in the Vision now. They're just on this team.
Well, here's what I'll say though. I would, like, in the men's side of it, the shenanigans could happen between three of the most, the biggest names on one team. And I'm not talking about the Vision. I'm talking about CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. Like, we kind of already saw that a little bit this past week leading up to the PLE this weekend. Yeah. And there's obviously some tension there, because you see by the end of that an opening segment, Roman Reigns is walking away and like CM Punk's like, so which belt? I guess you'll have to find out, kind of a thing. It's like, okay, so what's really going on here? So, like, you never know in these War Games matches what can transpire, and that's what makes them interesting. You're going to see some great spots from both the men's and the women's side, but you're also going to see some shenanigans, I think. And I wouldn't even just say in one. I would say in both. Something's going to happen that you're going to.
I'll say the most important thing in this whole card, when it comes especially to the men's War Games match, is Brock Lesnar gets to the ring without falling on his arse. That's what I would say. Yes.
He sold it well.
He did. Yes, but I mean, I think that was the highlight of the whole week in the world of wrestling, if you ask me. I mean, that's the thing. I saw somebody literally came up to me that doesn't follow wrestling but follows just like silly things, because it's definitely not regular news, but it's like, I don't know, just like things that would be of the pop culture variety. Yeah. And they're like, I heard some wrestler last night like fell on his ass last night when he was coming out. I was like, it was Brock. It was good. I saw all the Shockmaster mashups that go with it. So it was entertaining nonetheless. I mean, I obviously it is an all-star game, right? Of people in this, as we've talked about, right? Brock Lesnar, you always wonder, like, how can he really be on anyone's team? This is going to be strange because, again, we've had a lot of teams and we've had good guys versus bad guys. The good guys have mostly won, except for, I think, in the first year, the Bloodline won, with Sami Zayn being on that team and essentially making his presence known as part of the Bloodline, not aligning with Kevin Owens at the end there. But for the most part, the good guys have won at this event.
Brock Lesnar will come in last for his team, though, no doubt.
Brock Lesnar is definitely, what they call, the X factor in this, I think. Because again, he's never on anyone's team. I know back in the day we were just talking, right? There's Team Angle versus Team Lesnar. This is not the modern day version of Brock Lesnar. Since Brock Lesnar has made his return in 2012, which is 13 years ago now, this version of Brock Lesnar has not been on anyone's team. I don't think he's been in a tag team match at all since 2012, since he left the WWE and went to football and UFC and then came back. He has been in business for one man, and that one man's Brock Lesnar. So that's going to be very interesting to see him in a team.
What do you think wins, though? What do you think wins? The vision?
I think the good guys are not going to be able to be as cohesive, right? We got too many egos, too many titles. Roman Reigns, is he even a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Like, Roman Reigns really is towing that line between heel and face.
I mean, it's Brock. To me, Brock Lesnar is going to be, like you said, he's the X factor. I think he's the difference maker in the Vision's quest to win this War Games match.
And it's difficult too, because obviously Logan Paul won his match at the end of Raw this week to give them the advantage, which typically, as in the world of professional wrestling, right? If they have the advantage, that means they're not going to win. You know what I mean? I was just watching a match this past weekend, an indie wrestling show, where it was a 3-on-3 tag team match, Survivor style. Last man left. Wouldn't you guess it? We got down to 3-on-1. You know who ended up winning that match? The one. Because that's how wrestling works. It's not like regular life. There's not squash matches in like, you watch a game and say that team's way better than that team, and they'll squash them. They'll not let up. But in wrestling, whenever it's a best of 7, weirdly enough, it always goes 7. And not just doesn't go 7, but who's ever down 3-0 always seems to come back and force 7. Who's ever down 2 falls out of 5 always comes back to force a 5th fall. Like, that's wrestling. So, to see that the bad guys have the advantage, I mean, that just takes me back to like 1988 Survivor Series or old Survivor Series or old wrestling, where I could see Jesse Ventura saying, "Oh, they're done for now. They should just phone it in. He should throw in the white towel. Hulk Hogan's dead. Hulkamania's over. It's gone and buried. Look at him. He's out there by himself with 6 guys. No one's on his side. What an idiot." And then who comes back and wins? Hulk Hogan, right? So the fact that they have the advantage makes me feel like, all right, you're giving the heels like the confidence going in, just so that the underdog faces can obviously prevail. But I do think that the heels are going to win this. I think Brock Lesnar could, like I said, be the X Factor and just do it all himself. Yeah. Good news is, in a match like this, it's not a Survivor match in that traditional sense. So 1 pinfall to a finish. So Brock Lesnar doesn't have to be the one to take the pinfall. And frankly, he might even be at a point where he might see one of his teammates getting pinned. And again, he's in business for himself. So he's going to go, yeah, not my problem.
Well, and if we're going in that direction, because we both agree on that, I think the heels are going to win the men's side of it. I'm going to go on the other side for
AJ Lee and the faces. I beat you to it, right? Yeah. The faces are going to win.
Yeah. And then we picked those out for the War Games. What's your take on Mysterio and Cena? You already heard me. I'm leaning Cena here.
It's difficult because we've had that conversation about, will he take the Intercontinental Championship into his final match? And a lot of people are still saying that, Gunther might be the one to face him in the final match. It might be the one to beat him now that Sheamus is out on injury. And going forward, we'll talk about that, as we get closer. But that was a real, stick in the spokes right there of Sheamus' injury, because that was my pick and a lot of people's pick to be the winner or go on to face Cena.
Yeah, but I think I think the plan really has been all along Gunther. I think it's kind of the way they're building it.
That's the way it looks now. Yes, Gunther's back. He looks like Gunther. He's having great matches, back-to-back weeks on Raw, looking great. His old Walter theme, which is awesome.
By the way, did they officially announce Sheamus' replacement, or are we waiting for that?
They did. They didn't officially announce it. They've already taped SmackDown for this week. It was The Miz. I won't give away, because I don't even really actually know offhand who won between The Miz and LA Knight, but it was The Miz who replaced him. Okay. As they taped SmackDown this past week, because they're not taping it this week, which I think is kind of strange, because they have a pay-per-view. So it's not like, I know they want to give the talent time off for the holidays, but at the same time, it's not like they're not running a show this weekend. It's not like on Friday I couldn't go meet John Cena in San Diego. Like, he's going to be there. They're all going to be there. Like, it's not like they're just showing up on Saturday. A lot of them are showing up on, but I guess it's not so much a vacation for the talent, because they're probably all flying out on Thursday still. I think it's a vacation for the crew to maybe not have to work Friday.
I think you made a point, I think it was last week, I know it was recent weeks, that if you keep the title on Cena going into Saturday night's main event coming up for his last match, it kind of gives away the finish if he's the Intercontinental Champion, because he's not just going to retire as champion, right? Like, that would be kind of weird. That would kind of, to me, that would kind of tip the, the hand of, okay, he's definitely going down. Like that's why I'm thinking.
How does Dominic cleanly win against John Cena, or does he not cleanly win?
Who, Mysterio?
Yeah.
Oh, Mysterio's doing some dirty deeds. You know how it is. It's Mysterio. He's gonna pull something out of his rear end and he'll pull something out of the old Eddie Guerrero playbook, because he's
it would be a wild turn of events, right? And maybe you could have this as your main event, right? And I think Dominic Mysterio could go off the air as the winner, but this would be a wild turn of events, right? Rey Mysterio comes out to help John Cena and turns on John Cena, helps Dominic Mysterio win. And
how awesome would that be, especially in the 619?
Father and son together on Thanksgiving weekend in their hometown, and Rey Mysterio now a heel, sort of, right? That would be, interesting. And yeah, that'd keep, because obviously John Cena is going to go away, but Rey Mysterio, he's not on his retirement tour. So how are we keeping him fresh? That would be a good way to maybe what's next for Rey Mysterio? Cena Judgment Day?
I mean, it would be interesting, because eventually we're going to get to a point, and this is kind of fantasy booking it, when Rey decides he wants to do his retirement tour, because that's obviously the thing these days, because Cena's doing his now, and then AJ's doing his next year. Rey's probably not too far behind those guys. I think he's older than all those guys, I believe. I'm pretty sure. I think he is. And so, to me, down the line, there's going to be that final match for Rey Mysterio. And I think what's going to happen, this is just booking it out in the future, I think his son, Dominic Mysterio, will be his final opponent. What do you think? I mean, that's in the future.
There's a lot of people who could be his final opponent. I don't know if, I guess time will tell. We'll have to see where stories are kind of going.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fun either way. Rey Mysterio's got a lot of, whether it could be Penta, his final opponent, new versus old kind of thing. It could be Jericho coming back, right? It could be Edge. Could be, he's had, could be Mark Henry. Could be Randy Orton, right? I think he was in that triple. It could be he was in that triple threat championship match where Rey Mysterio won the title. So there's a lot of those nostalgia acts. Rey Mysterio's got him just like John Cena's got him, where he's faced a lot of people along the way. Rey Mysterio on the Big Show, right? Maybe when Big Show slammed him on the stretcher against the turnbuckle.
Regardless of what happens, it's bound to be interesting. Now, I do have to ask you, from one Hall of Famer, WWE Hall of Famer, to another, do we see Nikki Bella defeating Stephanie Vaquer for the championship?
Nikki Bella is now just like Dominic, right? She's going into her hometown, a heel. No, it's difficult for me to see. Listen, I know Nikki Bella is a great wrestler. I know that, she led the Divas Revolution, but I think the women these days are just so much in a class of their own. Yeah. And I think Nikki Bella, while she was the leader of the 2014, 2013 years, right? I think that there's a reason why the Divas Revolution started with Charlotte's and Becky's and things. Stephanie Vaquer is an example of that. I think Nikki, it's interesting. It's got me interested. I'm watching. Her character's great. For her age, she looks great. She doesn't look like she missed a step or anything like that. Yeah. I just don't think, with all the things that we've seen with Stephanie Vaquer, just winning the Crown Jewel Championship, right? Showing that she is the best of both brands. I don't think losing to a 40-something-year-old Nikki Bella, I just don't see that happening.
I'm going to throw a question at you regarding Nikki Bella, since we're on that topic. Do we see a little Brie Bella? Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, maybe that's how. I mean, Brie Bella could come out, and there could be similar to the Mysterios. Come out and help her sister. And I mean do we still have the women's tag titles? Because I was going to say, who's holding on to those? It's the Kabuki Warriors, right? Then they just win it. I was at that Raw. They wanted it. I can't remember. But you know what I mean? There's somebody that would make the tag titles interesting in the women's world. The Bella Twins, right?
Yeah, it all depends on what Brie wants to do, because obviously Nikki obviously she's back in action. She's been on making the rounds, making the towns, and all that stuff these days. I don't know if Brie would want to do that necessarily, but it is in the place of where they were both obviously born, because they're twins. I'm curious to see if Brie does does show up and maybe at least support her sister. Maybe it's something in the case where like she's ringside or something. You know what I mean? Like that could be cool.
And it's funny, it's in San Diego. It's in a stadium in San Diego, really the only stadium that they have left to be able to host the big event. They don't have football, like NFL football anymore, right? They've got some arenas, but those arenas are a little outdated in the sense of because they don't host an NBA team in those arenas or an NHL team. So the arenas are not the most they're not the new state-of-the-art arenas like you see in some cities, right? And obviously, like you said, they don't have a football stadium. So this is their largest venue in that city of San Diego. So I'm kind of surprised when you talk about Rey Mysterio and his retirement tour. I'm surprised this isn't like he didn't set it up for this to be his last match, because really, how much better are you going to get than a stadium show in San Diego? I don't think they're coming back to San Diego anytime soon for a stadium show.
It's not like they're going to go to UCSD. You know, where
it's not like they're coming back to San Diego at a venue this big ever in the future, right? This is your one time to be in front of 35,000 in San Diego. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? But hey, as we learned with John Cena, they didn't let him retire in Boston. So, Rey Mysterio's last match will go to the highest bidder. He'll be like, I think Mexico would be a great place. And they'd say, yeah, we think Buffalo, New York. That'd be a great place because they're the highest bidder. That's what they'd say. As we wrap up this week's edition of the show, I just want to kind of say one thing that I don't really understand. WWE took over the War Games match a long time ago, right? They've had a ton of War Games. We're now on to 46 and 47 total War Games matches, period, right? This will be the fourth consecutive year of War Games. I'm surprised since WWE has brought it back, and specifically since they brought it to the Survivor Series pay-per-view, that they haven't made it an actual elimination style match, made it their own in that sense. I will say that's kind of strange because Survivor Series used to be known as Survivor Series tag matches. Here we are, 5-on-5, just like tradition, but we're doing a non-elimination match. And I think War Games is always weird to me in general because it's not elimination style, because it'd be like if you played a basketball game and you play and you score points, but the points don't count until the second half starts. So you're literally fighting, but you can't get to your accomplishment of fighting because there's nowhere you can take it until everyone's been in the match.
One final thing. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there in America. Thankful to be doing this for almost 10 years with you. So looking forward to talking more Survivor Series next week.